Hello and welcome to my June reading wrap-up. All right, in June, I read a total of 14 books, and out of those 14, 13 were from my physical TBR, so I'm really, really proud of myself. I'm like physically incapable of not buying or like borrowing another book, especially since I got Libby. I like keep borrowing books, and that has made the journey of finishing my physical TBR way longer than it needs to be. I'm doing better in July. It is July 2nd, and I've already finished 2.5 books, and they're all from my physical TBR. So we got this, y'all. Anyways, we're here for June, right? So let's get right into it. The very first book that I read, and like you'll notice a lot of these are from like special edition subscription boxes, because you know I tend to ignore those because I'm afraid that they're not gonna be good, because I didn't pick them. Also, I'm not like really excited to read them, but they are really pretty most of the time. So anyways, this is one of them, Darker by 4 by June C.L. Tan. Basically, Rui is training to be an exorcist, and she wants to make her powers as best as possible so that she can avenge the monster that killed her mom. However, then enter Urine, who is like a prestigious, like rich dude, but he was born with no powers, and through an accident, her powers get transferred to him, and now it's kind of like a race to defeat some monsters that are overrunning the city while also trying to get Rui's powers back from Urine. And I thought this book was okay. I feel like there could have been like more depth to it. I'm not sure why I felt that way. I just did. It just felt like a little something was missing, you know? It wasn't a bad book, but it was just all right, you know? I'll keep it. It's pretty also, so and I ended up giving this 3 stars. Next, I read A Fate Inked in Blood by Daniel L. Jensen. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. So basically, this is about a girl. Her name is Freya, and basically Freya's life sucks. She is married to this dude that she was forced to marry because of like his position. So her parents were like, you know, high position guy, let's marry her to him. And he sucks, and he's rude, and he ends up betraying her and giving her away to an even more powerful dude named the Jarl. And through like him betraying her, the husband, she ends up revealing that she is the Shield Maiden, which is like a person who is prophesized to bring the Jarl to be like the king of all of like the Jarls of all the areas. This is also like highly a romance, and I ate this up. It was so good. The only thing is that the like I didn't give it 5 stars because some of the romance was a little cringe for me, which is like a major point of the book, the romance. But like with the action and everything that goes on in Freya's life, and how she and Bjorn, the male main character, just kind of tackle some of these like trials and stuff, I really liked. And I also loved the fact that there was Norse mythology sprinkled in there. I don't know anything about Norse mythology, but this is making me want to. And you know, I have Norse mythology by Neil Gaiman on my TBR now, and I plan to look into it a little bit more because this was so good. All right, To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Cristo. Basically, Princess Lyra is a siren, and every year on their birthdays, the sirens are able to go out and capture the heart of a human. It's like a tradition. You're not supposed to do it outside of your birthday, but Lyra does. And to punish her, her mom turns her into the thing she hates most, which is a human. And then she's, you know, fallen in love with the prince, who's a human. And this is kind of like a darker retelling of The Little Mermaid. And Lyra's like a siren, not a mermaid, so she like lures men to their death. Anyways, I thought it was okay. I really honestly have nothing to say about this book. I feel like I maybe didn't give it as much of a chance as it deserved, because I just kept like forgetting to pay attention while I was reading it. So I gave it 3 stars. There's nothing like that stood out to me, but there's nothing that like made me not like it either, you know. Next, I read Meadow Road by Simone St. James. This is about a couple, and they are driving to their honeymoon when suddenly, for some reason, they get off an exit and they find a girl on the side of the road. She's like running from something, and they pick her up like a hitchhiker, and then all of a sudden they realize that she's been stabbed and take her to the hospital, and she dies, and they find themselves kind of like in the middle of this murder investigation instead of at their honeymoon, which is sucky. And I gave this book 3 stars as well. I was kind of sad because I've read a 5-star Simone St. James book, and I've read a 3-star Simone St. James book, and I felt like this was going to be the tiebreaker that told me if she's a 5-star or 3-star author. But we'll give her a try again, because I did enjoy this. I feel like the one thing that I noticed in all of her books is that she always tends to, like, they're like crime thrillers ish, but there's always like a paranormal aspect to it, and I think that's what she like kind of does the best. I just wish that there was more of it in this book. Like, this book was primarily feeling like a crime book, and there were the paranormal aspects, but she didn't like lean into it, you know. So yeah, that's just what could have been better. But it was interesting. I was hooked to know who done it, who was behind all this. I felt like the main character was definitely one of those people that you're like, girl, run and don't do it. Why would you do that? She was looking for trouble. But I didn't mind it. So, Meadow Road. Next, I read this heavy chunky monkey, Mythos by Stephen Fry. This is a really heavy book, so I'm going to put it down. But just look at it, okay? Because she's gorgeous. But she is very heavy. She feels like a textbook. She also reads kind of like a textbook. So, I'm obsessed with this book. I gave it 4 stars, but I think I want to give it 5. But I feel like the 5th star is probably because I listened to the audiobook. And the dude who narrates this feels like the Santa Claus narrator in every Christmas movie ever. I can't explain it. That's just what he sounds like. Anyways, Mythos is kind of like a reimagining. I don't want to say a retelling, because he doesn't really like stray away from the real story. He just kind of adds like his interpretation of emotions and like, you know, makes it a little sassy. But they are the original Greek myths. I don't want to say that it's just the Olympians, but I feel like it is. Anyways, I'll definitely be going through this again to remember some of the stories, because it was awesome. And I believe that there's 2 more in this set. One about the Greek heroes, which are not gods, and then the other one, I don't know what it's about, but 4 stars. This was really good. I highly recommend it. It's awesome. It's beautiful, amazing, fantastic. 10 out of 10. And by 10 out of 10, I mean I gave it 4 stars, but that's okay. There's not anything that I can point out that I didn't like about this book, to be honest. Next, I read The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren, and I love everything that Christina Lauren writes. They are fantastic. The Paradise Problem is essentially about a guy named Liam, and he and Anna get married for housing purposes, which is kind of silly and doesn't make any sense to me, but okay, we'll move on from it. And then basically I guess she thinks that she got divorced and they go their separate ways. Then like 5 years later, he comes back. He's like, hey, by the way, we're still married and I need your help. So even though I betrayed you and definitely did not let you out of this legal contract that I said I let you out of, I need you to come and pretend to be married to me at a family event, which I think it was a wedding. One of the worst things about reading so many books is that it immediately ejected. I just remember vibes. Anyways, so basically I think they're going to his sister's wedding or something. And his family is like super rich. They run this like chain of supermarkets, and he doesn't want to work for the supermarket. So the only way for him to get his inheritance from his grandfather is if he's been married for 5 years. So now they're pretending to be married, which like they were married for another reason, not for the inheritance, but now they have to stay married for the inheritance. And it's just drama. It's fake dating. It's forced proximity. It's all of the things I love, because your girl loves fake dating. My first favorite trope ever is definitely enemies to lovers, but after enemies to lovers, and not like, I'm not talking rivals to lovers. I'm not talking about I hate you, you suck. I mean like mortal enemies, like fantasy, like I'm gonna unalive you type of enemies to lovers. Which is, what does that say about me? Anyways, my second favorite trope is fake dating, and this is fake dating, and we love to see it. I loved the main character, Anna, and how quirky she is, and that's honestly really all I remember about this book. But I did film a vlog, so if you want to find out what else I thought, just watch the vloggy vlog. And I did give that 4 stars, like I do every other Christina Lauren book. My gals. This book, At First Bite by Olivia Day. So Athena is engaged to this dude, and because of his brother Matthew, he decides to break off the engagement. So now like her whole life is in shambles because she moved for him, she quit her job for him, like uprooted everything for him. So naturally she runs into Matthew and she hates him. And her character, I get that it's the point, right? Like that she's supposed to be spiteful and be doing things out of spite, and like she hates him or whatever. And just as I was just saying that I love enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers, all that stuff, but not like this. Okay, she's like so full of spite and bitter. She does all these things on purpose to make his life suck, and that's just not the way to live, girl. You are miserable. You are full of hate. You are annoying, frankly. Anyways, long and behold, Matthew feels like he needs to do everything possible to make her life better because he feels guilty that she uprooted her life and now it's all over and it's his fault and blah 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 blah. I just did not enjoy the main character. And how can you enjoy a book told through the perspective of a character that you can't stand? Sorries. That's At First Bite. A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. Basically, this is about a girl named Artie, and she runs a tea house that turns into a blood room at night that feeds vampires. And I once again have forgotten everything about this book. I know that they have to basically, Artie teams up with some people, some that are friends and some that she thinks are friends and turn out to not be, dun dun dun, in order to kind of like do this heist into a vampire society and save her tea room slash blood house, etc. The like love triangle situation in this book kind of had me interested, but other than that, like the writing was beautiful. I love the representation. I love that, you know, she's talking about like when she's younger and wearing her sari and like those types of experiences that you don't see a lot in books, because the authors that are published tend to be of a certain variety. We'll leave it at that. So I kind of love that we see all that, and I liked the writing. I guess I don't know, something was missing for me. It was still a good book. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I do recommend that you read it. Like I said, it's just like, it's really beautifully written. I like this author's writing style. I think that this book maybe was just not for me. One Last Shot by Betty Cayuette. Basically, this is about a chick who is a supermodel and the one that got away, who's a photographer. She's kind of like the top of supermodels, and he is a really good photographer, but he shoots for like a more like Macy's type brand, like department store or whatever. Anyways, so they had made a pact when they were younger and in love that if they weren't married by 28, that they would marry each other, and then, or 25. Honestly, some age that's like not even that old. I remember thinking, dude, you have the rest of your life ahead of you. Either way, they made this pact and they set reminders on their phones, and their phone reminders go off. And so she, the main character, her name is Emerson, basically decides to try to shoot for Theo's magazine, even though it's like way below like her usual, like what she shoots. And she doesn't tell him that she remembers the pact. She just kind of tries to win him over before the end of the week when the shoot is over, and it feels like there's this like deadline looming over them. Anyways, there's the added element of romance because they're in like a really romantic scene in Italy, but he doesn't seem as happy to see her as she expected. This book was like a mid book. Like, it was a fun time. I probably would have enjoyed like bringing this on the beach with me. It's like a really like light and fluffy read. Nothing like super remarkable about it or memorable. Yeah. Wow, this font is really small. Whoa, that's bright. All right, Charlie. The next book I read is After the Forest by Kel Woods. Another special edition. I killed it with the special editions this month. Anyways, this is like a, not a retelling of Hansel and Gretel. This is more like Hansel and Gretel in the future. And just kind of like what happened to them post being taken by the witch and the gingerbread. So this is 20 years after The Witch in the Gingerbread House, and they're both like struggling to get by. I think it's hilarious that Hansel is like struggling with a gambling addiction and Gretel basically is grappling with the idea that she may have like some dark magic like looming about her. Yeah, she bakes like this like addictive gingerbread, and she's just kind of dealing with her own magic and this like dark magic, like I said, that's kind of around that she feels like may be a threat to her town and the village that they live in. She's also dealing with like her relationship with Hans. And honestly, I thought that this book, like, I ended up giving it 3 stars. but it was really entertaining, you know? Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it was a high 3 stars. I think that it was really, really hilarious to see Hans's, like, relationship with, like, gambling with women and how he's kind of, like, traumatized by the whole situation. They make the, like, whole idea of them going to this, like, gingerbread house, even though it's like a fairy tale and it seems silly, like it makes it seem like a serious, like, traumatic problem that they're like dealing with years later. There's a scene in this book that lives like rent free in my mind forever. I don't even want to say it because I'm not good at not spoiling things, but it was kind of comical. I don't think it was supposed to be funny, but I thought it was funny. Oh no! I give this 3 stars. It was okay. The next book I read was What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. This book is essentially about a girl whose name I already forgot. It's Inez. Basically, Inez's parents, she's from Buenos Aires, and her parents always used to go to Egypt to excavate. They were like those people back in the day who found like the tombs and stuff. And so they were looking for Cleopatra's tomb with her uncle, and she kind of lived a like neglected childhood where her parents were always away because they were working, and for some reason they would never take her with them until one day they disappear, and she decides to go to Egypt and find out what's going on with her parents' disappearance. And she kind of finds out that like there's like danger around. There's evil afoot. So while she's there, she meets this guy named Wit, and he makes it to her wit's end. They kind of get into it with each other, definitely giving like rivals to lover vibes. And he's definitely trying to stop her. He's not trying to have her find out what's going on with her parents, which is real sus. And that is my explanation of this book. I thought it was cute. I liked the like rivals vibes between the two main characters, although it was mostly about her, because I don't want to say that this is a romance. While romance plays like a large part in this book, most of it is surrounding the mystery of her parents. And this main character, she's really sassy, she's really like strong willed, and I really like that about her. I don't know, again, I liked like the magic. I wish that there was more magic in the book. There's not really like one thing that I could point to. Oh, okay, weird. I guess we're doing this with no lights. We're almost done anyways. I gave this book 3.5 stars, I believe. Thought it was interesting. I loved that there was like capítulo 24 or 23, whatever, like all the chapters were in Spanish. It just gave it a little extra oomph, and there was like a lot of like Argentinian elements. Is Buenos Aires in Argentina? I'm not good at geography, but the little spice was in there, you know, and we like the diversity in books. This was a good book. I recommend you read it. The next book I read was God Has a Name by John Mark Comer, which is a spiritual book. You'll probably see that I've been sprinkling those in here and there. I enjoyed everything else by John Mark Comer that I have read thus far, but this one was not necessarily my favorite. I thought it was more like historical and like to learn background, which is okay. And I won't rate it because, you know, moving on. Next, I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, and I'm obsessed. So this is book 4 in the Hunger Games series, and Just Google the Hunger Games if you are not aware, because your girl cannot be bothered to describe the Hunger Games. I'm sure what you know what it is about. Anyways, this one follows, this is like a prequel, and it follows like kind of like the story of President Snow, who's the villain in the Hunger Games. And I ate this up. I gave this book 4 stars. I think I didn't give it 5 stars because I didn't have that like screaming, crying, throwing up feeling that you get when you have a 5-star book. But it was really, really, really good. I was so invested, and like I was scaring myself because I related way too heavily to President Snow, and he's supposed to be a villain. Like, why am I relating strongly to the villain? I don't want to justify his actions. I just, like, I get it. Like, to him, he's like just, it's weird to call him a loyal dude when he's not good, but he's like super loyal. He believes in the cause, which is the Capitol, and he believes strongly in like the reasoning behind the Hunger Games, and that's kind of what like partially drives him. I mean, he is really ambitious and like not in a good way, but you can kind of overlook that because everything he does is kind of like to further the cause of the Capitol, which he strongly believes in. I'm not going to say that again because I'm just repeating myself at this point, but I loved this. I love this book with all my heart. I can't believe I waited this long to read it, and the next thing I do after I finish filming is I'm going to watch the movie. The last book I read, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. This is a personal finance book, and I thought it was really interesting and really funny. Like, I want all my personal finance advice to come in this format. He's just like, if you do this thing, you're a dummy. If you do this thing, you're an idiot. And he's just like straight up about it and his opinions. I'm not a finance guru, so I don't know if all of this is like sound advice, but it seems sound to me. And I did give it to someone I know who is in finance first before reading it, and he told me it was good advice, so I will believe it. And I also really enjoyed the journey of reading this book about finance. So it's not fiction, so can't really give it a rating, but like if I was gonna give it a rating, I would probably give it like 4 or 5 stars. Like, I actually am surprised that I enjoyed a personal finance book this month. And like you can see, I highlighted, maybe you can't see it, but I did highlight a lot. Anyways, pals, that's it for June. I think it was a good reading month. I'm kind of sad. If you notice my May wrap up, I said that I was going to read one more book than I did in May, which was 19 books, and I didn't even come close to that. We won't talk about it, okay? We're just going to move on and maybe do it in July, because I'm not like competitive against other people, but like I'm competitive against myself. You know what I mean? And I feel like I can beat this. So anyways, I'm done rambling. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, hit that like button. If you made it this far, leave some kind of bird emoji for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Hello! I think that was my favorite book of the month. And if you want to join the family, hit that subscribe button. I will see you all when I see you next. Bye! So basically, Darker by 4 is the golden hour is not helping me right now. Basically, Rui is like training to be an exorcist, and she's trying to